All right, hello science students, Mr. Auger here. Today we are going to learn some things about soil and specifically soil texture. And soil texture is important because if you know what your soil is made up of, that allows you to do certain things with it, like grow certain foods and so on if you raise a garden. So I've got 3 different soil samples here, and I'm going to show you how to do a soil texture by feel test. So those of you that are in my summer school science class, you are going to find in your soils folder a document titled Soil Textures by Feel. And basically what it will be a flow chart that looks something like this. And I'll give you a few seconds to get that out. But basically what we do is I will place the soil in my hand. I'll put some water in it, and so it's kind of like a moist putty, and then we'll just follow that flow chart until we get to the end where it gives us a name for the texture, and we'll record that texture. So it's pretty simple. So right now we're going to do soil test number 1, and this is kind of a looks like kind of a brown soil. The other 2 samples are pretty dark, especially this one, but this is by far the one that's the most brown. And so we're going to take about a teaspoon, or maybe a little bit more, put it in our hand, add some water, and rub it around a little bit so it gets good. And I can see I already added too much water, so I'm going to add some more dirt, or soil. I don't want to call it dirt. Still a little wet, so I'm going to put a little more soil in. Now it's getting a little more putty-like, if you can see that. Still need more soil. Now it's getting better. I think I put a little too much water in it first. So basically now it's kind of like a moist putty. I'm going to follow my flow chart until I get to a point where I can identify its texture. So there, I can kind of roll it around. It looks like kind of a moist putty. And so the first thing says, does soil remain in a ball when squeezed? Okay, so I'm squeezing it kind of right now, just applying a little pressure, and it does remain in a ball. So I followed the flow chart down to the next big box, and I'll just read this. It says place the ball of soil between your thumb and forefinger, gently pushing the soil with the thumb, squeezing it upwards into a ribbon. Form a ribbon of uniform thickness and width. Allow the ribbon to emerge and extend over the forefinger, breaking from its own weight. So basically what we mean by forming a ribbon, so when I squeeze it between my thumb and my pointer finger, it does form a little bit of a ribbon. It doesn't form one real long. Let's see if I can. So it's just kind of extending out beyond my forefinger. So it's certainly forming a ribbon, but not a real long one. So it says in the flow chart, does the soil make a weak ribbon, less than 2.5 centimeters? Does the soil make a medium ribbon, 2.5 to 5? You know, it's maybe not a full 5 centimeters, but it's certainly at least 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to follow the flow chart down to where it says, does it feel very gritty? And as I feel it in my hands, it does not feel real gritty. Gritty would usually indicate sand. Does the soil feel smooth? I think it feels very smooth. So basically what it shows is that it is a silty clay loam, which is what I would guess it is. So this first soil sample we have is what's called silty clay loam. All right. That's good for now. All right, so we've done one soil sample. Now we're going to do the other 2. This is soil sample number 2. It's already made. It's already in a ball. So again, I'm going to squeeze it in between my index finger and my thumb and see if I can get that ribbon to form. You know, it's not crumbling right away, but it does crumble after a little bit. So if I follow my flow chart, it says, does soil make a medium ribbon 2.5 to 5 centimeters in length before breaking? I would say yes, that it certainly does. And then the next item says, excessively wet a small pinch of soil in the palm and rub with finger. And I kind of already did that. In fact, I can do it with this thing, with this ball here, and it just says, does the soil feel gritty? And yes, if yes it does, it's a sandy clay loam. If it feels smooth, it's more of a silty clay loam. I don't know that it feels that gritty. It does feel a little smoother. So if that's the case, then that would indicate that that is a silty clay loam. So that's the second one. And then the third one is right here. Again, a real dark soil, so it's probably pretty good for growing plants and so on. This one, I can already tell that it's not going to form as well as that one did. So again, we'll join up right with the flow chart, kind of right in the middle. And if I push, add a little bit more soil to it here. If I try to push it apart, it falls apart pretty easy. So it says in the flow chart, does the soil make a strong ribbon 5 centimeters long? Or well, that's certainly not it. Does the soil make a weak ribbon less than 2.5 centimeters? I would say yes, it certainly does make a weak ribbon. Does the soil feel gritty? I would say yes, this soil feels very gritty. When I rub it in my hands, it does feel like there's some sand in there. So I'd follow my flow chart right down to where it says sandy loam. So we've now identified the 3 soil textures that we have in front of us, and the next video will focus on a more of a quantitative test for soil testing, that being a soil layering test. So thanks for paying attention.